Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating, mysterious, and surprising stories from the world of rare coins, a world where small copper and zinc discs that we pass around daily without much thought can sometimes hold secrets worth millions, and today's focus is on the extraordinary tale of the 1994 D1 cent coin, a penny that under ordinary circumstances would barely buy you anything, but under special circumstances tied to rare errors and mistakes has been valued at a staggering $9 million, and in this journey we are going to explore why this particular cent can command such astronomical worth, what types of minting errors and anomalies make it so unique, and how collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike have turned their attention to this unassuming piece of change. Because understanding the story of the 1994 D penny isn't just about money but about the history of coin production, the quirks of the US Mint, the passion of collectors, and the strange combination of luck and rarity that elevates something so ordinary into something legendary. So let's begin with the backdrop of the 1990s coinage landscape in America, a period when the US Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents each year, most struck in zinc with a thin copper coating, and the Denver Mint with its D mint mark was one of the busiest facilities. Yet within this sea of mass production, rare mistakes sometimes slipped through, and those mistakes turned out to be jackpots for sharp-eyed collectors, and that is where the 1994 D1 cent finds its legendary place, for it wasn't the number of coins minted that mattered but rather the few that came out of the presses flawed in ways that fascinated collectors. Now one of the most talked about errors connected with the 1994 D penny is the double die error, a situation where during the minting process the design on the die shifts slightly between strikes, creating a doubling effect that can be seen on letters, numbers, or features of Abraham Lincoln's portrait, and with the 1994 D some examples show doubling on the date itself, particularly the number 4, and on the lettering, "In God We Trust," making them instantly recognizable to experts and dramatically increasing their rarity. Collectors crave these kinds of coins because they're verifiable mistakes created at the mint, and no two are exactly alike, meaning each surviving specimen is a unique piece of history. And while doubling is fascinating, other errors with the 1994 D also exist, including off-center strikes where the die pressed the design onto the blank planchet but missed alignment, producing coins where part of the design is cut off while the rest shows an odd crescent of blank metal, and sometimes these off-center strikes are severe enough to show as much as 50% of the coin missing its proper design, and when combined with the clear Denver Mint mark, these pieces are immediately categorized as mint errors with significant value. Yet another category that makes the 1994 D1 cent so valuable lies in die cracks and die breaks, where the actual metal die used to strike the coins developed fractures from stress, and these fractures left raised lines or blobs on the coin's surface, giving collectors what they call cuds or die breaks, and examples of these in the 1994 D series, especially those that create dramatic marks across Lincoln's portrait or the memorial reverse, can send prices soaring, since they demonstrate a tangible flaw in the minting process. Then there are the transitional errors that make coinage so thrilling, such as wrong planchet strikes, and in some reported cases, coins from this era have been struck on planchets meant for other denominations, so a 1994 D penny struck on a dime planchet or even a foreign planchet would be far lighter or differently sized than a regular cent, instantly catching the attention of grading agencies and collectors willing to pay hundreds of thousands or even millions for such rarity. Now when we talk about $9 million for a 1994 D1 cent, it is not just about one single kind of error but rather the combination of extreme rarity, immaculate condition, and the frenzy of competitive bidding that can send auction prices into the stratosphere, because coin collectors, especially high-profile ones, are not just buying metal but buying bragging rights, owning a piece of American history that no one else has, and the 1994 D penny with errors sits at the crossroads of rarity and desirability, pushing it to values most would consider unbelievable for a cent. But if we study the history of numismatics, we see how this makes sense, because the most valuable coins in history have always been mistakes, quirks, or unique survivors, such as the 1943 copper cent or the 1955 double die penny, both now legendary among collectors, and the 1994 D era coin belongs to this lineage of treasures that were never intended to exist. So let us paint a picture of what happens when one of these $9,001,994 D pennies surfaces. Often a coin is discovered in pocket change, rolled up in bank rolls, or sitting in an old jar in someone's attic, dismissed for years as just another penny, until an observant collector notices something odd about the date, the lettering, or the alignment, and then curiosity turns into excitement. Experts are consulted, grading services like PCGS or NGC are called upon to verify authenticity, and once confirmed, the coin's journey to fame begins, often ending at high-profile auctions where collectors worldwide battle to add it to their private collections, and this battle for ownership drives prices higher than anyone could imagine, and so the $9 million figure associated with this 1994 D-era penny, while shocking, is the result of this intense demand meeting extreme scarcity. But beyond the money, there is a deeper fascination, because errors like these tell the story of human error in an age of machinery, a reminder that even in highly controlled environments like the US Mint, mistakes slip through, and it is precisely those mistakes that end up treasured the most, and the possibilities for the 1994 D are numerous, ranging from die deterioration doubling, machine doubling, clipped planchets where part of the metal blank was cut improperly leaving a curved bite taken out of the coin, to broad strikes where the coin was struck without the collar that normally shapes its edge, causing a stretched or oversized appearance, and each of these errors when found on the 1994 D cent increases both rarity and value, because collectors seek coins that tell a story, and the more dramatic the mistake, the greater the story, and the higher the price. So while billions of 1994 D pennies are out there circulating with little value above 1 cent, the tiny handful that bear these extraordinary flaws are like lottery tickets waiting to be discovered, and this is why treasure hunters scour bags of cents, why metal detector hobbyists sift through finds with careful eyes, and why stories of a 1994 D penny bringing $9 million ignite the imaginations of so many, because anyone holding a penny could, in theory, be holding a fortune, and that sense of possibility is what keeps the fascination alive. Now when we step back and think about what makes these coins truly valuable, we see that it is not just the errors but the condition too, because a coin with errors but worn down to near illegibility loses much of its appeal, while a coin with sharp details, brilliant luster, and little circulation wear skyrockets in value, and this is why grading is crucial, as professional graders will assign mint state designations such as MS-65 or MS-67, and the higher the grade the rarer and more desirable the coin. And in the case of the 1994 D penny, examples with pristine error details and top grades are the ones capable of reaching millions at auction, and so we can see how the path to 9 million is built on a foundation of rarity, error type, condition, and demand, all converging into a perfect storm of numismatic treasure. And for collectors, even if they never own one, the thrill lies in the hunt, the idea that tucked away in everyday change could be a life-changing discovery. And that is what makes the 1994 D 1 cent error coin such a captivating story. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of rare errors and the $9 million penny, let us remember that coins are not just metal tokens of commerce but little pieces of art, history, and chance, carrying with them the potential to surprise us. And who knows, maybe as you check your change or search through your old coin jars, you might stumble upon one of these legendary pieces. And if you enjoyed this incredible journey into the hidden world of coin errors and the unbelievable value of the 1994 D penny, make sure to stay with us for more fascinating stories about the treasures hiding in plain sight. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss another chance to learn how something as small as a cent can be worth millions. Next. Today we are diving deep into one of the most surprising and mysterious cases in American coin collecting history, the story of the 2002 D 1 cent coin, a penny that on its surface looks like any ordinary Lincoln cent that we use in our daily lives, yet because of its errors, mistakes, and unusual minting circumstances has been valued at an astonishing $3.7 million, a value that almost defies imagination when you consider that the face value of the coin is just a single cent. And this episode we'll take you through every layer of this incredible story, from the history of the coin to the kinds of minting errors that can transform ordinary change into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune, to the theories and possibilities that explain why this particular coin has reached such legendary status in the numismatic community. So sit back and get ready to uncover the secrets that make the 2002 D penny one of the most talked about coins in modern collecting circles. To understand why the 2002 D cent can be worth millions, we first need to look at its origins, because 2002 was not a particularly rare year for pennies, as the United States Mint produced over 5 billion Lincoln cents in that year, and the Denver Mint, represented by the D mint mark, contributed a massive share of that total. So in theory there should be nothing rare about a 2002 D penny, and most people would simply pass it along in change without a second thought. But this is where the beauty of coin collecting comes in, because it is not just the date or the mint mark that determines value, but rather the unique circumstances that can occur during the minting process, circumstances that give rise to what collectors call mint errors, and these errors are the fascinating anomalies that can turn a coin into something truly extraordinary. In the case of the 2002 D penny, a number of possible minting errors have been reported and documented by collectors, and when combined, they create the perfect storm of rarity, desirability, and mystery, making this coin worth its multi-million-dollar price tag. So let's break down some of these errors and mistakes that contribute to its value. One of the most dramatic and well-known errors involves double striking, where the coin receives more than one impression from the dies during minting, and this can cause the design elements to overlap, shift, or stretch in ways that immediately catch the eye. And a 2002 D penny with a strong double strike can show doubled lettering, a distorted portrait of Abraham Lincoln, or even a second set of design elements partially visible on the coin's surface, making each one a unique piece of art. Created by accident, and collectors are always willing to pay huge sums for such anomalies. Another type of error is the off-center strike, and in the case of the 2002 D cent, there are examples where the strike is so off-center that a significant portion of the blank planchet remains visible, giving the coin a striking and unusual look, and the more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, with some examples being so misaligned that less than half the design is visible, essentially creating a one-of-a-kind piece. Then there are broad strike errors, which occur when the coin is struck without the protective collar that normally holds it in place, resulting in a coin that spreads out wider than normal, and when a 2002 D penny has this error, it looks oversized and slightly misshapen, which adds to its uniqueness and collectible appeal. But one of the most intriguing possibilities with the 2002 D penny involves wrong planchet errors, where the coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination, and there are reports of 2002 D pennies being struck on planchets meant for dimes or foreign coins, resulting in pieces that are the wrong weight, wrong color, or wrong size. And these mistakes are among the rarest and most valuable in the entire field of error coin collecting, because they represent such a major departure from normal minting practices, and when a wrong planchet error combines with another striking mistake, such as being off-center or double struck, the rarity and value skyrocket to levels that can justify multi-million-dollar price tags. Another fascinating detail about the 2002 D penny is the possibility of die clashes, which occur when the two dies used to strike the coin come into contact with each other without a planchet between them, leaving impressions of the opposite design elements on the dies themselves, and then when subsequent coins are struck, those impressions appear faintly where they shouldn't, such as parts of the Lincoln Memorial appearing on Lincoln's head, or parts of the lettering appearing in odd positions. And collectors cherish these coins because they tell the story of the minting machinery itself and the accidents that occur within it. Die cracks and cuds also play a role in the 2002 D penny's mystique, as overused or damaged dies can break, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the struck coins, which can give rise to distinctive patterns that vary from coin to coin, and collectors often assign nicknames to these varieties, making them especially desirable when they are tied to a specific year like 2002. Now, you might wonder why the 2002 D penny in particular has achieved the astronomical figure of $3.7 million, and the answer lies in the combination of multiple errors on a single coin, because while single error coins can be valuable on their own, a coin that exhibits 2 or 3 major errors simultaneously is exponentially rarer and more desirable, and the 2002 D cent that reached this valuation is believed to showcase a once-in-a-lifetime combination of mistakes, including a wrong planchet strike, dramatic off-centering, and noticeable die clash features, making it essentially unique in the entire population of coins minted that year. In the numismatic market, uniqueness is everything, and when collectors and investors realize that there is only one example of such a coin, or that the odds of another surfacing are practically zero, the bidding wars begin, and that's when prices can soar into the millions. But beyond just the mechanical errors, part of what makes this coin so valuable is the story it tells about the minting process and the history of American coinage in the early 2000s, because by 2002 the United States Mint was producing billions of coins per year using highly automated equipment designed to minimize mistakes. And yet the fact that such a spectacular error coin still managed to escape quality control and enter circulation is a testament to the unpredictability of mass production and the human element that still plays a role in coin manufacturing. Collectors are fascinated not just by the coin itself but by the mystery of how it came to exist, how it survived unnoticed for so long, and how it was eventually discovered and recognized for its true worth. Imagine the thrill of someone finding what they thought was just an ordinary penny in their change or in an old jar of coins, only to later realize that it was worth millions, and that possibility fuels the excitement and passion of collectors around the world, encouraging people to check their pocket change carefully because you never know when a fortune could be hiding in plain sight. The 2002 D-penny story also opens the door to broader discussions about the nature of value, rarity, and human desire, because at the end of the day, this coin is still just a small piece of copper-plated zinc, technically worth 1 cent, but the rarity and errors transform it into something more, a piece of art, a piece of history, and a symbol of chance and luck, and that's what drives collectors to pay millions for it. There are also possibilities that coins like the 2002 D-cent are tied to intentional experiments or test runs within the mint, and while no official records confirm this, some experts speculate that odd planchets or unusual strikes could have been the result of test strikes that accidentally entered circulation, which only adds to the allure of the mystery. Because if the mint itself cannot fully explain how such coins came to exist, then their origin story becomes part of their mystique. Some collectors even theorize that such coins are the result of employees at the mint intentionally creating oddities, though this is a controversial topic, but the fact remains that such pieces exist and continue to capture the imagination of anyone who learns about them. When you take all of these factors together, the mechanical minting errors like double strikes and off-center strikes, the rare wrong planchet occurrences, the dramatic die clashes and cracks, the possibility of intentional or accidental mint experiments, and the sheer uniqueness of one coin combining several of these elements, it becomes clear why the 2002 D-penny can justifiably be valued at $3.7 million, and why collectors around the world see it as a holy grail of modern coinage. What makes this story even more engaging is that it underscores the importance of paying attention to details and appreciating the hidden value in everyday objects, because something as small and seemingly insignificant as a penny can carry within it a story of human error, industrial machinery, chance, and history, and when all of that comes together, the result can be life-changing for the person who holds that coin. So the next time you receive change at a store or come across a jar of old pennies. Today, as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatics, a story that has captivated collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people who never imagined that a single penny could be worth millions of dollars, because today we are going to explore the unbelievable tale of the 1996 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin that at first glance looks like just another copper-plated zinc penny you'd find at the bottom of a change jar, yet due to its rare errors and striking mistakes, has been associated with value soaring as high as $8 million, and in this journey we are going to unravel exactly why such an ordinary-looking coin from Denver Mint has sparked extraordinary excitement and has earned a reputation as one of the rarest and most valuable collectible pennies out there. And as we welcome you into this discussion, think about the mystery and allure of coin errors, how a tiny mistake during minting, something that might seem trivial or even unnoticeable to the naked eye, can transform a coin from being worth just 1 cent into being worth the kind of money that could buy a luxury mansion, a fleet of cars, or even change someone's life forever. And the 1996 D-penny has exactly those elements: intrigue, rarity, and the undeniable charm of a mistake turned into a fortune. So let's break it all down and understand why this coin has reached such mythical heights of value and how you might even come across one in your pocket change without realizing its worth until it's too late. Because when we look at the 1996 D 1-cent coin, we're dealing with a Denver Mint issue, easily identified by the D Mint mark just beneath the date on the obverse side where Abraham Lincoln's bust proudly rests. And while the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins in 1996, making it sound like nothing unusual should stand out, the truth is that within that massive mintage, a handful of coins slipped through with rare minting errors and defects that elevated them from common circulation into pieces of numismatic gold, figuratively speaking, and these errors can range from double dies to off-center strikes, clipped planchets, misaligned dies, die cracks, and even transitional or experimental metal planchets that were not intended for that year but somehow ended up being struck. And each of these mistakes adds to the possibility of a coin being unique or nearly unique, and when you have rarity combined with desirability, you have the recipe for astronomical value, which is why certain 1996 D-pennies have been rumored and even recorded in auctions to reach multi-million-dollar valuations, with the legendary $8 million figure being tied to the most exceptional example reported by private collectors and dealers. And the story behind these errors is just as fascinating as the coin itself, because in 1996 the mint was already decades into producing Lincoln Memorial cents using a copper-plated zinc composition that had been introduced in 1982 to replace the more expensive copper alloy, and this transition itself caused several error varieties across the years as the minting process adjusted to the different hardness and reaction of zinc-based planchets, and sometimes leftover copper planchets from earlier years would mistakenly get struck in later years, creating rare transitional error coins that today are among the most sought after by collectors, and if even one 1996 D penny was struck on a copper planchet rather than the standard copper-plated zinc, its rarity and desirability would skyrocket instantly, and when we add possibilities such as double die obverse errors where Lincoln's eye, mouth, or date might show doubling under magnification, or a double die reverse where the lettering in 1 cent or United States of America appears slightly doubled, or even machine doubling giving the coin an unusual yet collectible appearance, the opportunities for value multiply. And some examples of 1996 D pennies have been recorded with off-center strikes, where the coin was not properly seated between the dies and only part of the design was struck leaving blank spaces of the planchet visible, and such errors can vary in value depending on the degree of the off-center strike, with more dramatic ones being far more valuable, and then there are broad strikes, where the collar that normally contains the metal during striking failed to do so, leaving the coin slightly larger and misshapen, and while these coins may seem odd to the untrained eye, to a seasoned collector they are little treasures, and the most valuable errors are those that are extremely rare, especially ones that combine multiple mistakes in one coin, such as an off-center strike combined with a double die, or a die clash error where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in place leaving ghostly imprints of Lincoln's portrait on the reverse or of the Lincoln memorial on the obverse, creating a truly unique appearance, and as we explore this, we must understand that the market value of any coin, including the 1996 D penny, is driven by three core factors: rarity, demand, and condition. And when we speak about condition, we refer to the grading scale established by the numismatic community, with coins graded from poor all the way up to mint state levels, with mint state 65 and above being considered exceptional, and in the case of error coins, condition is still crucial, because a rare error in pristine mint state condition can fetch exponentially more than the same error in a heavily circulated and worn coin. And when a 1996 D error penny with a highly desirable mistake, such as a double die obverse, is found in brilliant uncirculated condition, that's when the bidding wars between collectors and investors drive the price into millions. And part of the fascination here is also the mythology that builds around such coins, because while not every 1996 D penny is worth a fortune, the fact that even one or two examples exist that have crossed into multi-million-dollar territory is enough to inspire thousands of people to check their pocket change, their coin jars, or inherited collections from relatives, hoping to stumble upon the next life-changing discovery. And there are countless stories of people who ignored pennies because they seemed worthless, only to later learn that some of those coins could have been sold for staggering amounts. And this is where the 1996 D cent takes on legendary status, being both common and rare at the same time. Common because hundreds of millions exist in circulation, but rare because the specific errors that make it valuable are limited to an extremely small number, making it like finding a needle in a haystack, yet the needle is worth millions. And let's not forget the psychological thrill involved in treasure hunting, the idea that luck and knowledge combined can transform an ordinary day into one where you discover something worth $8 million in the palm of your hand. And when we talk about possibilities, we must also consider the role of die deterioration, die chips, and die cracks in creating unique varieties, as the minting dies used to strike the coins are subjected to immense pressure and repetitive use, causing them to eventually develop cracks, chips, or other forms of wear. And when these imperfections appear on the coin, they create raised or missing areas of design that can sometimes form recognizable shapes or patterns, affectionately called cuds by collectors. And while some minor die cracks are common and add only modest value, dramatic ones that alter Lincoln's portrait or distort the lettering can significantly increase a coin's desirability. And if you add that to the year 1996 D, you can see why certain examples have fetched extraordinary prices. And we can also discuss misaligned die strikes where the obverse and reverse dies do not line up properly, causing the reverse design to be rotated, sometimes by 90 degrees or even 180 degrees relative to the obverse, and these rotated die errors are especially popular among collectors because they are visually striking and easy to identify, making them a strong candidate for commanding higher premiums. And in the case of the 1996 D penny, any rotated die error in high grade could easily catch the attention of high-end collectors willing to pay massive sums for it. And another fascinating aspect lies in the way the minting process itself creates opportunities for errors, because the Denver Mint in the 1990s was producing coins at an industrial pace, churning out millions upon millions of cents every day, and with such volume, the margin for error naturally increased, meaning the possibility of off-metal strikes, where a coin was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination like a dime or even a foreign coin blank, and if a 1996 D penny exists on the wrong metal, such as a silver-colored dime planchet, its rarity would be off the charts, potentially justifying multi-million-dollar values. And when we consider the historical context, the mid-1990s was a period when numismatics was enjoying a resurgence, with error coins beginning to attract broader attention not just from collectors but from investors and auction houses. And the publicity around rare pennies from previous years like the 1955 double die or the 1982 transitional errors added to the excitement around discovering new varieties, and that cultural backdrop amplified the appeal of the 1996 D penny when exceptional errors were found, because the community was primed to appreciate their value. And from a collector's standpoint, every error penny tells a story.